together and build a mighty wall. You see, and after they got together to build a mighty wall, they started coming up against so much opposition. You see, they was coming up against so much opposition. People was trying to steal their land. People were stealing their homes. People were stealing their cattle and their corn and everything. And Nehemiah said, wait a minute, God, this ain't supposed to be happening because these are your people. You see, so I stopped by here tonight at New Beginnings International Church to say, wait a minute, God, these are your people. You see, God, I know we don't do everything right, but these are your people. God, I know we ain't always in church like we ought to be, God, but these are your people. And God, now that you know that these are your people, God, you said in your word, God, that you will bless them and no man can curse them. God, you said in your word that you will give them blessings 30, 60, and 100-fold. God, you said in your word, God, that you will multiply them, God. God, so we ask tonight, God, that you bless your people. You see, during this particular time, Nehemiah, he was fighting against the people. In the 11th chapter, it says, restore, I pray to you. To them even this day, that their lands, their vineyards, their olive yards, their houses, also their 100 part of their money, and the corn, and the wine, and the oil, and yea, exact of them. Pastor Scott, what is that scripture trying to tell me tonight? That scripture is trying to say that God is getting ready to restore back to you what the devil took in 2008. You see, somebody ought to get excited right there because somebody lost their health in 2008. But God is getting ready to restore it back to you. Somebody lost their family in 2008, but God is getting ready to restore it back to you. Somebody lost their job in 2008, but God is getting ready to restore it back to you. But you got to make up in your mind, devil, I will not be defeated because greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. Devil, I will not be defeated because God got it all in control. Devil, I will not be defeated because the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. I don't have to be worried about where my next meal coming from because I know the God that I serve. I don't have to worry about the light bill because I know the God that has it all in control. Listen, I alluded to the devil coming in, slapping some of us in our face in 2008. You see, but one thing we have to understand about the text, for every action there is an equal reaction. You see, the one thing about God's children is we don't react like we're supposed to react all the time. You see, many of us, when we get down and out, we go to the crying house and we cry with everybody else. You see, but I got to let somebody know tonight that in order for you to get what God has for you in 2009, you got to get away from the crying house. In order for you to get what God has for you, you got to get away from the depressing house. But you got to make up in your mind, God, I'm not worried about my circumstances. God, I'm not worried about my situation. God, because your word say that you ordered my footsteps. And God, since you ordered my footsteps, you know the way that I'm going. God, you have the plan for my life. God, you know what's going on in my situation. You see, the book of Matthew says, and for the days of John the Baptist unto now, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence. You see, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence. You see, that means you are going to have to suffer some things in your life. You see, you're going to have to go through some heartache and pain in your life. You're going to go through some trials and tribulations in your life. You see, but it's not going through the trials and tribulations, but it's how you stand in the midst of the trials and tribulations. See, I think I'll say that one more time. It's how you stand in the midst of the trials and tribulations. You see, some of us, we got to learn in 2009 how to stand in integrity. We got to learn how to stand with some character. We got to learn how to stand being honest about ourselves. We got to be able to stand saying, you know what, I'm not making enough money, but I ain't going to steal out the cookie jar because I know the God that I serve, and I know that God will supply every one of my needs according to his riches and his glory. Listen, it said the kingdom suffered violence. Pastor Scott, what do you mean the kingdom? Why is God kingdom suffers? Why does God kingdom have to suffer like that? Because scripture says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but we wrestle against principalities and powers in high places. You see, that lets me know the devil know you better than you know yourself. Listen, the devil knows you better than you know yourself. So that's why when you starting to think that you need a drink, you ought to start praising God. When you think that you need a smoke, you ought to start trying to praise God. When somebody call you on a late night tip, you ought to start praising God. Because all the devil trying to do is trap you up so he can get you down a slippery slope. And before you know it, you ain't even going to church no more. You ain't even praising God no more. You ain't even doing what you're supposed to do. But you got to look the devil in the eye and say, get me behind me, Satan, because I know my destiny. If I fall down this trap, God is not going to be able to bless me like I ought to be blessed. Listen, the kingdom suffers violent. How can the kingdom suffers violence? Why is the kingdom suffers violence? I don't understand. We're supposed to be kings and queens of God. We're supposed to be sons and daughters of God. Why do we have to suffer violently? You see, but the Bible lets us know that no matter what you're going through, you can go through the fire. You see, you can go through the fire because when you get through going through the fire, I wish I had a Bible reader in the house. You see, because it says when you get through going through the fire, when you get through going through the divorce, when you get through going through the sickness, when you get through going through the temporary job loss, when you get through going through I didn't get into college I wanted to get through, you're going to come out as pure gold because God had your situation mapped out. God had your situation organized from the very beginning of time. The kingdom suffers violence, but the violent take it by force. Oh, Pastor Scott, what are you trying to preach here tonight? I still don't understand. You see, reclaiming what's mine in 2009. You see, in order to reclaim something, you have to first have owned it. Yeah. Let me, in order to reclaim something, you have to first have owned it in the first place. Because you can't reclaim something that didn't belong to you. You see, in 2008, many of us was trying to reclaim stuff that didn't belong to us. You see, some of us, we found ourselves fighting battles that didn't belong to us. Some of us found ourselves fighting in situations that didn't even concern us. And when it was time for us to fight and pray for ourselves, we was all out of energy. Reclaiming what's mine. You see, in order to be able to reclaim something, that means you have to have, that's an action word. Somebody say action word. Pastor Scott, what does that have to do? Because the Bible that I read says faith without works. Oh, see, somebody ought to got excited right there. Because you had faith last year, but in 2009 you're going to put some works to it, and God is going to be able to add the increase to everything that you've been missing. God is going to be able to add the increase to the missing spots in your life. He's going to be able to add the increase to the tears. He's going to wipe the tears away from your life. But you got to put some works behind it.